Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian, and I have decided I will vlog daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. And in my videos I try to tell you the things that we Ukrainians consider important during these difficult war times, and I'm always glad to answer your questions and to provide you with some interesting facts on our history, culture and language. And today I want to respond to a question that I receive pretty often, that is about Ukrainian music. But our nation is very musical, so it will be difficult for me to compress all the information in one vlog. And I have decided to separate them and to start with Ukrainian folk music, folk dances and instruments. First of all, I have to warn you that I'm not an expert. I have not visited musical schools and I belong to those people who cannot repeat the melody after they hear them. And you'd better never hear the way I sing. But I am a Ukrainian and I will focus on some things that may be more exotic or unusual, very, very Ukrainian. And of course I will forget about something but I will tell you that in another vlogs. So when to think about those very special musical instruments, because like being a part of Europe, we do have lots in common, and violins are popular in Ukrainian folk bands, but they are popular all over the world. So I will focus on more specific instruments, and number one is Bandura and Kobzari. These are string instruments that are known in our territories for centuries, and every Ukrainian will recognize their sound. Maybe they sound a little bit sad and more like, I cannot say romantic, more sad. But they are very, very popular. Some of you have asked me about Krut, who is a popular artist, but I cannot say she's super popular in Ukraine, but she's more known abroad. And she uses Bandura. This is a female version of the instrument, and Kobzari is the male version of this instrument. And Kobzari is very important because it is connected with a very interesting type of Ukrainian musicians that existed in the past. They were known as Kobzari, and very often these were blind people who were sent to school of Kobzari, where they learned to play, and they were composers. They composed songs and lyrics, and in those songs they were retelling important historical, military, political events, and they were traveling from village to village, from market to market, telling this information like messengers. And well, in the times when there was no radio or internet, they were very much respected, and it was an honor to meet them in the houses. Some of them were super popular and known for centuries in our chronicles. And their history ended in 1930s, of course, due to Soviets. They have organized a false meeting of Kobzari in Kharkiv in 1930, it seems to me, but like in the 30s definitely. And many of them were arrested, some of them were killed, and in general this type of musicians disappeared in Soviet times. There is even a film about that, and maybe I will record a separate vlog about top Ukrainian films and The Guide. And it has the English version, and I know it ran in cinemas recently, maybe even during this wartime. And but nowadays the art of Kobzari is revived, and you can meet them in various locations in Kyiv, and that is an interesting type of music. Another interesting musical instrument is Trembita. It is popular in the Carpathian Mountains, and it is a really long horn that was even in the Guinness Book of Records or something, because many trembitas are like 5, 7 or even 8 meters long. Similar instruments are present in Moldova, in Romania, in Switzerland, and they were used as a means of communication between shepherds. And the culture of Carpathian Hutuls is very bright and interesting. I love it personally. I love visiting Carpathian Mountains in any season. It is not just for skiing. And so after we win, you are invited to see this beautiful land, and maybe you will be given a chance to play the Trembita. When I think about our dances, I have worked as an interpreter once when I was small, like even at school and at the first years of university for one folk festival. And I was always so proud to see that our Ukrainian dancers were typically very popular among different national dances because there are lots of tricks and difficult things in our dances. And dance number one that is associated with Ukrainians is hopak. Its history is really long, and if you look it up in Wikipedia, it tells that it comes back from pagan times and it was used to fight with like evil spirits, but it became a real dance during the Zaporizhsky Kozaki. And Kozaki were using this dance to demonstrate their strengths, and it is more like a fight dance or dance that demonstrates the strengths of a male. And I will leave a link to one of the popular Ukrainian ensembles dancing this male part. There are also female parts, but they are not that complicated, and typically the most interest is stolen by the male part dancers. Another popular dance that is more spread in the western part of Ukraine and in the Carpathian Mountains is Arkan. And it is a ritual dance that was very popular in previous centuries. And it marked the transition of a boy to a manhood. And typically after dancing this dance, he was allowed to carry a small axe. Hutsuls are known to carry these small axes as weapons, and these are popular souvenirs in the Carpathian Mountains, I can tell you. Also, there are lots of Ukrainian songs, folk songs that are popular and known all over the world, and I will leave you a link to some of them so that you can listen. Of course, lyrics here is very important, and not many of them are translated, but they are now sang by very popular modern Ukrainian singers. And one of the songs that is very popular, Ой, чий то кінь стоїть, it can be translated as whose horse is that standing, is sang by one of the super popular men of the Ukrainian music scene, Святослав Вакарчук. I extremely respect and love him as musician, and I did not like that he went into politics. When you learn more about Ukraine, you will be surprised how many people from showbiz were in our politics. So Vakarchuk was the one. He started his own political party, but he was closely connected with some of the oligarchs. And later he gave up on politics. He gave up on politics a couple of times, but he's extremely talented in music, songwriting. And if you think about the top band in Ukraine, that is definitely Okanelzy. Well, for me, but for like the majority of Ukrainians. And I will leave you a link to one song that he sings in the Ukrainian underground during the bombings together with people. And that is a very meaningful Ukrainian folk song. And I do like the emotions you can see on people while he is singing it. And there are also songs that, Ukrainian songs that contributed to the global culture. And many of you know that Carol of the Bells is actually the song that was, well, like it was inspired by the song that was Ukrainian. And it is a very popular Ukrainian New Year carol style song. And another popular song, Summertime, was also inspired by the Ukrainian lullaby Ой, ходить сон коло вікон, which can be translated that the dream is walking, the one for sleeping, is walking next to your windows. And after one very popular Ukrainian chorus, Koshitsa was traveling to the United States, and it was heard then, and it inspired the author to create Summertime. I will leave you the link to these songs too. And perhaps the last piece of music that I will tell you about today is not the folk one, but it became a very important symbol of Ukraine. This is a melody known as, it was composed by our very famous composer who recently died, Miroslav Skorik. He lived in Lviv, and this is an extremely talented piece of music. And during this wartime, lots of countries, lots of orchestras from different countries used it to demonstrate solidarity with Ukraine. So in the first comment to this video, I will leave you links with explanations. And of course, if you are not into folk music and stuff like that, it might not be very interesting for you, but you can choose some just to get the general impression of what is it: Ukrainian folk music, Ukrainian folk dances, and maybe just their atmosphere. Please ask me your questions. I'm always glad when you give me ideas for my vlogs. I'm very grateful for your reactions, and thank you very much for your subscriptions. Slava Ukraini! Wait, do not turn off the video. I went out to buy some small things, and I have come across a very popular Ukrainian singer who comes from my city, and he came back here to collect money for the Ukrainian armed forces. So it's not only Angelina Jolie that you can meet in Lutsk, but lots of other, in Lutsk and Lviv, but maybe she will also come to Lutsk, I don't know. So there are lots of Ukrainian talented people all over the world who collect money to support Ukrainian armed forces. And now I will show you our very popular musician Alexander Polozhinsky, also performing on the streets of my city.
Я ображаю людей, люди ображають мене. Ми з людьми взаємно ображені. Щось пробігає повз нас, це щось називається час. Та ми ігноруємо його, складається враження. Я не один, коли я знаю, хтось десь про мене почує, про мене згадає. Я не один, коли відчуваю, хтось десь зі мною цю пісню співає. Хай поки цю пісню не дуже чутно в пустелі та в лісі, але у доброму серці вона лазоветься, вона лазоветься. Дивись, як руйнується мури з потертих купюр. Дивись і всміхнись задоволено. Ми біля воріт стоїмо вже дуже давно, бо хтось написав, що прохід заборонено. Я не один, коли я знаю, хтось десь про мене почує, про мене згадає. Я не один, коли відчуваю, хтось десь зі мною цю пісню співає. Хай поки цю пісню не дуже чутно в пустелі та в лісі, але у доброму серці вона озоветься, вона озоветься. Ще вчора хтось був на коні,